All right. Well, hello, everyone. We have Daniela from Mindful Goods. Daniela, it's so great to have you. And I'd love if you can give a little introduction and background on yourself.
Sure. Great. Thanks for having me. Daniela here from Mindful Goods, and I'm the founder and CEO. We started about 4 years ago doing purely listing optimization for brands. And now we service over 100 brands a year and just help them get their start or help them refresh their content on Amazon.
Fantastic. Today, we're going to talk about listing optimizations, the good, the bad, what's trending, what's new. And to kick it off, because a common theme with us is we like to talk about common mistakes, is what are some of the common mistakes that you see when you're either doing audits or you're quite frankly just looking at Amazon as a consumer?
Well, when we first started, what we'd see a lot of is just purely empty listings. And
Mhm.
what that means is like when you go and look at a listing, and sometimes you see really beautiful graphics and they're selling you all the way down the page. And then you might look at another one and it's got like two images. We used to see a lot of that. Now I think a lot of brands are actually learning how optimization can play a crucial role in conversion. And we see more and more brands coming to Amazon specifically with custom content, which is really refreshing to see. But the biggest mistake we still see is a lot of brands copy pasting. So they have their Shopify website set up and they have beautiful, images that they've already had taken, maybe even some lifestyle images, but they just literally copy paste into Amazon. And the problem with that is that when you're just copy pasting what you already have from your website, it might not be optimized specifically for Amazon, meaning what are people searching for in Amazon in very direct relation to your product? And how do you make sure that you are infusing the keywords necessary to help you get found? And so oftentimes brands will come to us and they'll be either frustrated because they set up their listings wrong and they, are having some kind of issue. They can't even get up and running. Or two, they finally got their listing set up and it's just complete crickets. And they're like, why am I not getting any sales? And when we go in and look at it, 9 times out of 10, it's because they didn't optimize their listing in the first place. They just kind of copy pasted from whatever they had to get it going.
In your opinion, when it comes down to importance of copy versus imagery, what do you weight more importance on?
That's a tough one. We really look at Amazon as a 3-step conversion funnel, right? So every listing has 3 steps. The first step is getting found through SEO. So if you don't have the SEO copy, you're just not going to get found. So let's say you do have that and we prioritize that, and then people do click into your listing. Well, our third step, I'm going to skip the second step for now, but the third step is actually compelling content all the way down the page to answer every question that a shopper might have. So you'll get a bunch of people into your listing with your SEO copy, but then you'll get a bunch of people bouncing because they're not being convinced to buy. Either your images don't build trust, or the shopper's not identifying with your specific brand or product, or just you're not answering the questions that they have in order for them to make a quick purchase. So really, for me, they go hand in hand. But most oftentimes, people do invest in one or the other and don't really think of it as a cohesive piece.
This is absolutely something we've seen many times too. It is very interesting, especially in larger organizations where the copy team doesn't always necessarily collaborate with the creative team or the visual assets
Yeah.
team. And
Yeah.
sometimes you got to bring all the decision makers in the room to just move things forward.
That's really interesting because we noticed that early on as well. And so what we do is we actually build the copy first. So our clients always work with the copywriter first. And once they flush out the true benefits of the product that's going to go in the bullets of the listing, we're able to then use that to dictate what the visuals are going to be. So we're showing and telling all the way down the page, but you have to remember that most often people are not even reading the actual text that's on the page. That's just to help you get found. Like think about yourself as a shopper. We take, as human beings, we take in 90% visual. We're really ignoring all the text on the screen and looking at all the pretty pictures. But the pictures can be so much more informative than a flat lay, right? A flat lay looks pretty, but it doesn't tell you anything. So we need to be showing and telling all the way down the page. And one thing that I try to remind people is every image is an asset. Every asset needs to provide a function. It needs to, at the end of the day, be providing something to the end user, whether it's education, whether it's building trust, whether it's formative and answering their questions, whatever the things are that people are most likely wondering about this product before they buy. You have to tee it up for them in a way that's digestible on every single piece of content inside the listing.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your buy now method for optimization. I know that
Yeah.
that's a really large component about your expertise and value propositions. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So the buy now method is actually this incredible, amazing checklist that we created. It's actually published on our site. You can download the whole checklist, but we actually made it even more simple. And it's just the 3-step conversion funnel is what you have to remember. All the nitty gritty details you can download in the checklist and you can fine tune. But to make it really simple for people, what we noticed is that the word optimization can be really intimidating. Like optimization at the end of the day just means like, how do we get someone to find and buy our product? So what we have to remember is 3 steps, right? The first step is getting found through your SEO. The second step is getting clicks. So once you're showing up in the results, how do we get them to click on your image versus anyone else's that's showing up in the 50 results that are showing up on the page? So that's the
Mm.
second step is your main image. And then once you've gotten those clicks, how do you get them to buy once they're inside the listing, right? And so all of those 3 steps are super important. The first step is doing your SEO research and infusing it in the copy. The second step with your main image really is a matter of ideation and being creative and looking at your competitive space and saying, how do we make sure that our main image is different than anybody else's here? And it's going to get the eyeballs and get the clicks. We use a tool called PickFu that I love, and I always give them a shout out. And you can use Mindful VIP to get 50% off your poll. I love them so much. I always like scream from the rooftop about it because we use it for every single client project. It's so easy to just be like, oh, we have a beautiful product on White Shot. We'll just use that. But at the end of the day, it's the second step in the funnel. How do you make sure you get the clicks? And you do that by split testing a couple different ideas, maybe even 6 or 10 ideas if you have them. Like trying to figure out what is the thing that's really going to make you stand out. You can even run a split test against your competitive set and put yourself in it with different variations so you can see which ones people are most likely to click on, right? So that's the second step. And then the third step is those show and tell graphics all the way down the page.
Awesome. I think the main image, I totally agree, is something that's often overlooked in PDP optimizations. And I'd be curious to get your thoughts on some of the trends that you're seeing for those main images because for a long time, brands are kind of getting away with pushing the terms and services of having like the ingredients in the background or incorporating things that maybe like accessories or things that weren't actually a part of the product.
Or a
So I'm
baby
curious.
product has the baby sitting there smiling. Does the baby come with the come with the
Right,
product?
right. So I'm curious if you're seeing any trends in certain categories because I know, especially in beauty, right? Like swatches in the background or goop shots, those are more and
Yeah.
more popular.
Supplements and beauty are usually leading the trend in terms of like doing something edgy because it's such high velocity. They have to be constantly testing different things. But there was one brand I did a video on called No BS.
And their videos are all time in terms of creativity.
They're great, and they really push the boundaries in terms of main image. They did like some like 3D renders with the ingredients kind of floating around in the outside, which at the time I didn't see very many people doing that, and I thought it was awesome because it was so aesthetically on brand for them. But then I saw them changing it around the same time, doing a colored outline around the product, which is really a gray area. Amazon's not saying that you can't draw an outline around your product, right? They're saying it has to be on pure white. It is on pure white. It just also has this bright colored outline around the product that really catches the attention in search. Another type of eye candy would be like orientation. How are you presenting all the bags? Are you fanning them out? Are you doing them at different angles? Are you doing hard shadows? Are you doing soft shadows? What are all your competitors doing? Are they all doing just a straight on shot? Well, maybe doing something just slightly at an angle with a hard shadow is really going to draw attention, right? It's just these like subtle things that you might not notice until you're really examining all of the competitive landscape. And that's one of my favorite things to play with on Amazon.
Completely agree. One thing that we have done a lot of testing and playing around with, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on it. Is it better to be more zoomed in and like solely focused on the product so it looks bigger in the SERP? Or
Mhm.
are you better off, like, let's say it comes in really nice packaging and having that kind of offset in the background but then the product's going to look smaller.
Totally something you need to test, and then look at
Yeah.
your direct set, right? Because let's say everyone else is doing close-ups because they have the same thing in mind. We want our product to look as big as possible in the search results. Well, maybe doing the opposite could actually benefit you. I'm all for testing, testing, testing.
With all this testing, do you have like a minimum number of impressions or sessions that you look for a product to have so you can qualify it as significant data? Because, how
Mhm.
can we really know what data to trust when doing these tests?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So, like, there's testing within Amazon, but usually it depends on your velocity. So, if you're a net new brand and you don't have a ton of velocity yet, you have to wait weeks, months to get the data, right? If you're a high velocity brand, you can probably test on Amazon and get actual Amazon data. But then again, you're running a risk because you're changing your actual images on Amazon. So, if you go the wrong way, you're losing out on sales. Rather than play in that risky territory, that's why we use PickFu, because we're able to say we want to target Amazon shoppers. Like for instance, we could target Amazon shoppers who have a Prime membership, who are also parents, who also love coffee. We could literally like segment that much if we wanted to, and then also figure out, like, it's not about just running one test, right? So we're usually testing in segments of like 50 audience members, but we're not trying to get something that's just a few points of a winner. We're trying to get one that's like a clear winner. That's like literally everyone voted for this option, but why? And then the great thing about it is you're getting the qualitative and the quantitative data at the same time, right? So you're able to read the reviews and then iterate. If you read 50 reviews from 50 shoppers who are your ideal target audience, and they're all telling you three different things, you can iterate on your image, fix the three different things, run another test, and come up with like a landslide winner.
And I think you brought up another point, once again, is something that is often overlooked, is reading through those reviews and using that information to optimize your product detail pages. Like, I can't tell you how many times I bring this up in audits that I do for brands. One of the first things I do is I look at the negative reviews and I'm like, all right, let's see if there's any elephants that we should call out in the listing. Maybe it's a product that people expect it to be sweet and it's actually really bitter. Or maybe
Right.
it's a beauty product and they're not using it on a daily
Right.
basis,
Yeah.
you don't see the results, and then people leave a negative review. Or maybe this scent is a really strong menthol and you just want to set that expectation. This is probably something you and I both run into, is we can't change the products themselves, but we can better change the expectation of the consumer for that
Totally.
product.
Totally. Totally.
Um, and I know another data point that we look at really closely. So we've actually built this out as a tool within Meyer Horizons, which is our software solution, is actually analyzing all the return data. And like, let's say it's
Oh,
apparel
nice.
brands, and one of the common reasons for returns is that it's too big or it's too small. Or it isn't what they were expecting. That's more data to then
Mhm.
reiterate, like, okay, how can we maybe update our sizing chart to make sure that customers are actually buying the right size? Let's also look
Mhm.
at what the return rate is and benchmark it against similar brands. And if there's a way that we can use optimization not only to drive sales, but reduce the number of returns we get, that's also going to make more money for the client.
Totally. One of my favorite brands, Tushy, and they have a bidet. And if you go and look at their A plus content, it's very much like landing page style, which is something we also like to do with all of our clients. We like less text, more imagery. The one thing I love is if you actually go and look at their top three competitors and go and read the reviews and you look at just the word clusters as well, the word clusters are going to help you identify what are the most common or often used phrases in the reviews, right? Which is going to let you know people's frustrations, going to let you know what people like care about the most, right? It's a way to prioritize where your content is showing up in the listing. So if you go look at Tushy's A plus content, they actually built out easy to use as one of like the main modules within there. Really simple, really visual, less text is more in this situation, but you can see that even the rest of the content that's in their A plus content is prioritized against what people are mentioning in the competitive reviews, because in their space they have competitors with tens of thousands of reviews. So why not just use that gold and build your content around what you know is important to shoppers.
Thank you so much for joining our podcast and interview today. It's been a pleasure. Awesome.
Definitely. Well, thanks for having me.